Welcome to the Thinking Director channel, where thinking differently leads to living differently. Have you ever wondered why some people work tirelessly their entire lives, saving every penny, yet end up just getting by, while others, with just a few clicks, a few contracts, turn that same amount into 10 times more, and still have the freedom to enjoy life? At first glance, it might seem like magic. But no, it's not luck. And it's not about having a better starting point. It's because they're playing a different game, and more importantly, they understand the rules of that game. The wealthy don't deposit savings the way most of us do. They deposit vision. To them, money is not the destination. It's merely a tool, a ticket to open greater doors. And like any tool, if you don't know how to use it, it will sit idle, useless, even losing value over time. I once saw a friend work diligently all his life, holding tightly to every dollar in the bank as a badge of pride. But 20 years later, that money could no longer buy the same house it once could. Meanwhile, another person, with the same initial capital, used it as leverage for investments, and within just a few years, his assets had multiplied many times over. So where's the problem? It's not about hard work, nor about the ability to earn money. The problem lies in how we see money, and how we allow it to move. The wealthy understand this. If you let money stand still, it dies. But if you let it flow, it grows. The question is, which game are you playing? And do you know its rules? In the next few minutes, we'll step into a different journey, where money is no longer just pieces of paper in your wallet, but a living flow that can take you from today's limits to tomorrow's freedom. This isn't a theoretical lecture. This is a roadmap from those who've gone ahead, those who failed, succeeded, and realized that true wealth isn't the number in your account, but how you make that flow of money work for you. If today you're feeling tired from work, worried about money, or sensing you're falling behind in the financial race, then this is the conversation you need. Just one new idea, one different perspective, could reverse your entire financial destiny. So, are you ready to begin this journey? Think back to the last time you held a bill in your hand. Did you ever really look at it and ask yourself, does this truly belong to me? If you notice, that bill doesn't have your name on it. It only has numbers, symbols, and a promise from the government. In reality, money isn't a personal possession. It's a representation of trust, of credibility, and of an entire system at work. That's why the wealthy don't try to own money. They learn to control it. You see, if you see money as the destination, you'll stop once you reach a certain number. But if you see it as a tool, you'll always look for ways to use it to create new value. There's an old saying, money is like water. Still water becomes stagnant, but flowing water nurtures life. Money is the same. Locked in a safe, it loses value over time. Circulated wisely, it multiplies. An entrepreneur I once met proved this perfectly. After selling part of his company's shares, he received millions in cash. But instead of letting that money sit in a bank account, he immediately reinvested it into a new project, bought other assets, or even reinvested back into his own company. He understood that money is like blood. Without circulation, the body dies. Businesses are no different. And here's a truth that might shock you. Most of us aren't far behind the wealthy when it comes to making money. We fall behind in how we operate it. We often let money sleep in our accounts, as if it will grow by itself. In reality, it's quietly losing value each day due to inflation. Do you remember the price of a house 20 years ago? If your parents had saved $100 back then, they could have bought a spacious home. But if they kept that same amount until today, it might only be enough for a small apartment, or worse, a new car. It's not because they were lazy about investing, it's because they were never taught the nature of money and cash flow. Schools teach us how to earn money, but rarely how to make money work for us. The wealthy understand that cash should only be kept for essential needs and unexpected opportunities. The rest should be moved intelligently through channels like real estate, stocks, bonds, intangible assets, and even emerging tech and cryptocurrencies. You might think, I don't have millions to invest. But in truth, this principle doesn't depend on how much you have, it depends on how you think. A small coffee shop owner can apply it, rather than letting monthly revenue sit idle. They could use it to restock inventory, upgrade the shop, or market their brand. Ask yourself, if you had $10 today, what would you do? Put it in the bank and wait for interest? Or turn it into a tool that creates double or triple the value? In the financial world, the question isn't, how much money do you have? But, what is your money doing when you're not looking? Money is just a tool. But a tool, if used correctly, can turn an ordinary person into a value creator. And if unused, it's just a pretty piece of paper, quietly losing value. So, are you letting your money stand still? Or letting it flow? There's a concept I believe everyone should know: dead money. Sounds strange, right? Can money really die? In truth, dead money is when it sits idle, earning nothing, creating no new value, quietly losing worth day by day. Imagine you have $50 and you leave it untouched in your bank account for 10 years. Sounds safe, but when you factor in inflation, your purchasing power drops significantly. That money could buy far less than it can today. This is why the wealthy often say, money that isn't working is dying. They don't let money sleep for too long. Instead, they always look for ways to keep it moving, generating more value. I once knew a family who ran a small convenience store. Each month, they kept all their profits in a safe, thinking it was secure. But just a few years later, with rising inventory costs and rent, the money they saved wasn't enough to open a new branch. In contrast, another friend of mine also ran a business but had a different mindset. Every time he made a profit, he immediately reinvested, bringing in new products, improving the store space, running ads to attract customers. In just 3 years, he opened 4 more locations and multiplied his revenue many times over. The difference lies here. One kept money and let it die slowly, the other put money to work and watched it grow. Warren Buffett once said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die." It sounds simple, but it's a real wake-up call. In reality, dead money doesn't just rob you of earning potential, it also makes you miss golden opportunities when they arise. When the market presents an attractive investment, if you don't have cash flow ready, you'll be left watching others seize it. So how do you avoid dead money? It's not about investing blindly. The key lies in creating a cash flow system, keeping your money moving, but still under your control. For example, a small restaurant owner might allocate part of monthly profits to upgrading the menu, part to marketing, and part to an emergency fund. This way, the money both generates returns and keeps financial safety intact. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to start. Even a few thousand, if used wisely, can make a big difference. Remember, money is only truly alive when it's working for you. And while you're sleeping, out with friends, or spending time with family, it can still quietly generate new value. So the question you should ask yourself today isn't, how much money do I have? But, what is my money doing when I'm not looking? And if the answer is, it's just sitting there, then maybe it's time to wake it up. There's a truth few people realize. Not everyone with a lot of money is truly wealthy. Sounds like a paradox, but it's the difference between having money and understanding the rules of money. Imagine you and a financial tycoon both have $10 million. You put yours in the bank, earning a few percent in interest each year. Feeling safe, he uses his to buy a piece of land under his company's name. Then, he hires an independent appraiser to revalue the asset at twice the purchase price on paper. His company's value jumps, financial statements look better, and investors are drawn in. Within just 3 years, his company could go public and be valued at hundreds of millions, while you still have your original $10 million. It may sound like magic, but this is entirely a legal game. The wealthy aren't just good at making money. They're experts at amplifying asset value by leveraging financial laws. Another example. An entrepreneur buys a painting worth $50 million for his company. Many might think he's being extravagant, but in reality, he's making a strategic move. According to accounting laws, that painting is classified as a fixed asset and depreciated over 5 years. Each year, its book value drops by $10 million, and that depreciation counts as an expense, reducing taxable profit. Result: the company saves tens of millions in taxes, completely legally. This isn't bending the rules, it's understanding and applying them. Confucius once said, "Knowing the law without understanding it is like walking blind in the dark." What's interesting is that these principles aren't just for large corporations. Even a small business can apply them. For example, if you buy new production equipment for your shop, it not only boosts productivity but can also be depreciated to lower taxes. The problem is, most people think only about making more money, while the wealthy think about how to have money recognized at a higher value without immediately increasing actual capacity. This mindset allows them to move faster and go further. When asset values rise, they can use them as collateral, raise capital, or expand their business without having to sell the asset. You see, financial law is like the rules of a chess game. Those who don't understand the rules just move pieces on instinct, while those who do know every move that brings them closer to victory. So the question is, are you playing this game like a beginner? Or like someone who knows the rules inside out? In the financial world, there's a principle the ultra-wealthy know by heart. You don't need to own the asset. You just need to control the cash flow. Sounds strange? Let me tell you a story. Donald Trump, one of the most well-known businessmen in the world, once shared that most of his assets are not under his personal name. Instead, they are owned through companies or investment funds. Why? Because when assets belong to another legal entity, you're both protected from personal risk and able to take advantage of tax benefits and financial laws. Imagine you own a rental building. If it's in your personal name, any legal risk or dispute directly affects you. But if the building is owned by a company, the risk is separated, and you can use the company to borrow capital and expand investments. This is the power of financial leverage. Leverage isn't just about borrowing money to invest. It's about using what you control to create value many times greater. The wealthy understand that every dollar, every asset, if paired with leverage, can open much bigger opportunities than letting it sit idle. A real-life example. A real estate investor buys a $5 million plot of land, puts down $1 million, and borrows the rest. He then gets building permits, develops the property, and raises its value to $8 million. With just $1 million up front, he's created $3 million in new value. Leverage doesn't always involve debt. Sometimes, it's leverage from relationships, from reputation, or from controlling a steady cash flow. For example, a franchise chain doesn't need to own all its locations. They only need to own the brand, the process, and the right to collect franchise fees from other store owners. That's why control is more important than ownership. When you control the cash flow, you control the real financial power, without taking on all the risks of owning everything outright. Ask yourself, are you focused on owning more or controlling better? These are two very different strategies, and only one can help you scale sustainably. Because in the end, you don't need to hold the entire ocean in your hands. You just need to know how to channel the water to the right place. At the right time. Controlling cash flow is a skill anyone can learn. And once you master it, you'll realize wealth isn't necessarily owning more assets, it's owning more power from the financial flows you control. When we talk about assets, most of us think immediately of tangible things, houses, cars, gold, land, but for the ultra-wealthy, much of their power comes from things you can't touch. These are intangible assets, values that don't exist in physical form, yet have the power to generate massive profits. Intangible assets can be reputation, credibility, brand, relationships, intellectual property, or even the trust the market places in you. You can see this clearly through the story of Elon Musk. Many startups see their value multiply the moment he puts his name on them, even if they don't yet have a finished product. Why is that? Because the market trusts his ability. That trust is an invaluable intangible asset, and it holds incredible financial power. In reality, company shares are physically just a piece of paper or a line of digital data. But their value is determined by the story, vision, and credibility behind them. Apple doesn't just sell phones. They sell an ecosystem of trust, consistency and experience, and a vision for future technology. Tesla doesn't just sell electric cars. They sell a dream of a cleaner, smarter world. That dream is what keeps Tesla's stock valued far higher than its book value. This shows that the true value of a business sometimes isn't in its tangible assets, but in the level of trust and influence it creates. And intangible assets aren't just for large corporations. An individual can also own them. For example, a trusted financial expert in a community can raise capital for a new project much more easily than an unknown person. even if both have the same idea. The question is, how do you build this type of asset? The answer lies in the value you bring to others. Every time you share knowledge, help someone solve a problem, or keep a promise, you are depositing into your intangible asset account. Markets and people always respond to real value. If you consistently create value, trust will gradually form, and when that trust is big enough, it becomes the most powerful leverage you have. So, when thinking about assets, don't just look at the number in your bank account or the square footage of land you own. Look at how much trust you have from the market, how much credibility you hold in the community. That's what determines how far you can go. Once you understand the power of intangible assets, the next question is, how do you turn yourself into an asset that cash flow naturally seeks out? The answer lies in building a trust ecosystem around you. Imagine yourself as a large tree in a garden. If you only have the trunk, you'll be fragile in storms. But if you have deep roots, wide branches, and surrounding trees for support, you'll stand firm and grow strong. A trust ecosystem works the same way. It's not just customers or partners, it's a network of people who trust you, are willing to support you, and recommend you to others. The wealthy understand this well. They don't just invest in products, they invest in personal image, media presence, and community. For example, an unknown author might write a great book but only sell a few hundred copies. Meanwhile, a famous speaker, with the same quality content, can sell millions of copies simply because they already have a trusted community. A trust ecosystem helps you lower acquisition costs, increase speed of reach, and maximize opportunities. So how do you build it? There are three main elements: value, connection, consistency. Value. You must consistently create something useful for others: knowledge, solutions, inspiration, or support. Value is the foundation of all trust. Connection. Don't just deliver value one way, engage, listen, and understand. Let people feel they're part of the journey with you. Consistency. Trust isn't built in a day. It takes time and stability. You must consistently show up, act, and keep your promises. A clear example. Successful YouTube creators don't just make one good video and disappear. They show up regularly, engage with their audience, and keep delivering value. Once you have a trusted community, you can sell products, raise capital, or launch new projects far more easily. And the best part is, a trust ecosystem, if nurtured correctly, will continue to create value even when you take a break. That's why the wealthy don't just work with products. They work with people, building credibility, personal brand, and long-term relationships. So if you want cash flow to find its way to you, don't just ask, where should I invest? Ask, how am I building my trust ecosystem? There's a very clear difference between how the wealthy and the average person approach money. The wealthy use intellect. The average person uses labor. This doesn't mean the wealthy don't work hard. They do, often a lot. But their effort goes into strategic thinking and smart decision-making, not just manual labor or clocking in hours. Average people are often taught, if you want to be rich, you have to work harder. That's true, but not the whole truth. Because you only have 24 hours in a day. If your only way of making money is selling your time and effort, your income will always be limited. In contrast, the wealthy find ways to break the link between time and income. They build systems, invest in assets, and make money work for them. Billionaire Donald Trump once said, "I sleep little because I use my mind to make money, not my muscles." This isn't just bragging, it's the truth about how the wealthy operate their finances. Take a very simple example. Two people open a coffee shop. Person A does everything: brews coffee, cleans, takes payments. Person B hires staff, invests in marketing, and spends time finding locations for new branches. 1 year later, Person A still has one shop and works 12 hours a day. Person B has 3 shops, spends more time with family, and earns many times more. The difference here is intellectual leverage. Person B understands that to grow, you must step out of the role of doing everything and become the system designer. The wealthy apply this principle at every scale. They don't just seek higher profits. They find ways to keep money smarter and use it as leverage to generate more profits. Even a small shop owner can learn this. instead of trying to do everything alone to save costs. Find ways to increase efficiency with tools, technology, or staff. You might think, but hiring people or investing in tools costs money. True, but if it allows you to create more value than your own time and energy alone could, then it's an investment, not an expense. The wealthy always ask, how can I avoid doing everything myself, yet have everything still run? This question is the key to unlocking financial freedom. Because in the end, the goal isn't just to make more money. The goal is to make money while still having time to live. In the previous sections, we talked about using intellect over labor, and the power of intangible assets. Now it's time to combine the two to create sustainable wealth. In today's world, intangible assets, especially market trust, are the biggest gold mines. Look at Apple, Tesla, or Amazon. Their market value is far higher than their tangible asset value. Why? Because they don't just sell products, they sell vision, credibility, and trust. This trust can't be bought with money overnight. It's accumulated over time, through consistently creating value and keeping promises. A startup with no revenue can still be valued at hundreds of millions if the market believes in its vision and founding team. So what can individuals like you and me do to build this kind of asset? The answer is, start with yourself. Think of your personal brand as a company. Every skill you learn, every relationship you build, every value you share is an asset of that company. You can start by sharing your knowledge, experiences, or unique perspectives on platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn, or podcasts. When you consistently create valuable content, you don't just attract an audience, you attract opportunities, invitations to collaborate, investments, or new projects. Remember, in the new economy, the product may be what you sell, but the person behind the product is what creates the most value. An unknown person might sell a few hundred copies of a book. But if you're a recognized expert, a thought leader, that same book could sell millions in just a few weeks. This isn't luck, it's the result of building intangible assets, credibility, community, and influence. You can start today, with small steps. Create a professional LinkedIn profile. Share knowledge in your field, or join professional communities to connect with like-minded people. Every small action contributes to building your trust capital. And when that trust capital is big enough, money will come to you, instead of you chasing it. Sustainable wealth doesn't come from just making a big sum of money. It comes from creating a value system that keeps money flowing toward you. So the question you should ask yourself today is, what am I doing to become a valuable intangible asset in the eyes of the market? When it comes to wealth, many people only think about making more money. But the wealthy think about a different question. How can I multiply the value of what I already have? This is the mindset of valuing and multiplying assets, a key skill the wealthy use to continuously grow their wealth. Imagine you have a painting worth $50 million. The average person would hang it in their home as a collectible. The wealthy think differently. They might put it under a company, legally depreciate it, reduce taxes, and turn it into a financial tool. Not only that, they find ways to increase its value. For example, loaning it to a prestigious museum for display, boosting both its value and prestige. In real estate, the same building can double or triple in value if you renovate, change its purpose, or run a more profitable business model in it. The wealthy always ask, what additional value can this asset create beyond its current worth? This question opens up endless opportunities. A personal brand can turn into courses, books, podcasts, or affiliate products. A piece of land can become a resort or a shopping center. This mindset also applies to intangible assets. Credibility, relationships, or an online community can all be revalued and leveraged to create more cash flow. For example, a YouTuber doesn't just make money from ads, they can launch courses, sell products, collaborate with brands, or host events. The difference lies in how you see hidden potential in every asset. The average person values assets based only on their current worth. The wealthy look at future value, the value they can create if they know how to leverage it. And here's an important principle. Valuation is not just a number, it's a story. A compelling story can make investors willing to pay much more. Tesla, even before making huge profits, had an outstanding market value thanks to its story of a clean energy future. So when you want to multiply an asset's value, don't just focus on improving it physically, think about what story will make others believe it's worth more. Combining real improvements with crafting a story is the formula the wealthy use to inflate asset value legally and effectively. The final question for you: are you just holding your assets, or are you making them grow every day? There's a financial principle few people understand, yet it's one of the wealthy's greatest secrets. Ownership matters less than control. Average people think, to be rich, I need to own a lot of assets. The wealthy focus on controlling assets, even if their names aren't on the title. The reason is simple. Ownership can come with legal liabilities, risks, and high taxes. Control allows you to benefit from an asset without bearing all the risks. Donald Trump once shared that he doesn't need to own all the buildings bearing his name. Often, he only needs the right to operate or license his brand to earn profits. For example, a hotel may bear the Trump name but is built and owned by another company. Trump merely sells the brand and manages operations in exchange for fees and a revenue percentage. This is the art of using control to generate cash flow. You don't have to put up all the capital, yet you still earn returns. Another way is through companies or funds. The wealthy often place assets into companies to separate legal entities, optimize taxes, and protect personal assets. When assets are held in a company, you can transfer, revalue, or use them as collateral far more flexibly than with personal ownership. Think about Uber. Uber doesn't own millions of cars, but they control the platform connecting drivers and passengers, and that's what creates massive value. Or Airbnb. They don't own hotels, but they control the global lodging market through their platform. The question for you is, are you trying to own everything? Or are you learning to control the important things? Control also helps you manage risk.
Chào mừng
When
bạn đến với
markets
kênh thuật
fluctuate,
tư duy nơi
not
nhìn
holding
khác để sống
direct
khác.
ownership of many assets reduces legal and financial exposure. More importantly, when you focus on control, you free up resources to invest in multiple projects at once, instead of burying all your capital in one place. The wealthy understand that control is the invisible leverage that allows them to expand influence and cash flow without the burden of full ownership. So, if you want to step into the financial game at a higher level, learn to ask, how can I control this asset, instead of having to own it? When you hold control, you're not just creating money, you're creating power. And that power is what brings true freedom. We've just taken a long journey, understanding the nature of money. Learning to use intellect over labor. Building intangible assets. Valuing and multiplying assets. And mastering the art of cash flow control. Looking back, you'll notice one common thread. The wealthy don't let money decide their life. They decide how money operates in their life. Money, at its core, is just a tool. It has no emotions, no morals. It simply follows the commands of the one controlling it. And you, not anyone else, are at the wheel. The difference lies in mindset. Average people see money as the ultimate goal. The wealthy see it as raw material. A seed to be planted. A lever to expand influence. If today you still feel stuck in the cycle of earn, spend, lack, borrow, it's time to pause and ask a new question. Am I working for money, or is money working for me? The answer to that question will determine your future. Because once you shift from working for money to making money work for you, new doors will open. Remember, you don't need to be a billionaire to apply these principles. A small shop owner, a freelancer, or an office worker can start today, managing cash flow, investing wisely, building credibility, and learning to control rather than just own. And most importantly, be patient. True assets, both tangible and intangible, take time to mature. Market trust, personal credibility, and a strong financial system don't appear overnight. But step by step, you'll see the difference. Today, you plant a seed. Tomorrow, it sprouts. And one day, you'll walk in the financial garden you planted yourself. So when you leave this video, I want you to carry one decision. You won't just make money, you'll learn how to make money multiply. If you're ready to start this journey, start today. Hit subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment. I will make money work for me. That will be your first commitment to yourself.